Namaste, Galaxy Seeds. Welcome back to my channel, Indigo Angel. Welcome if you're new, and if you're returning, don't forget to put a like on this video as you come on in the room and hit the notifications bell to continue to receive my messages. So today I have an Alpha Draconis Starseed origin reading, so those of you who resonate as a Draco Starseed. I just want to go ahead and put a disclaimer on this video. Draco is at the heart of all human controversy on the planet. So I am going to get into this mythology and information today for the first half of this video. If you would like to skip forward to the second half simply for the Starseed reading, I'll leave the time marker at the top. But yes, essentially it can be very difficult to look at this information and hold a state of neutrality to the vibration. Resistance is typically how one may feel when they align to the draconian energy, the draconian encryption. Resistance is one of the qualities of the draconian nature, essentially. Resistance is also the league in which portions of the draconian collective operate under. So this energy very much can push and pull you in many ways. I just wanted to give a heads up. I don't typically hold back when it comes to talking about truth and depth and intricacies and controversy and just all of this knowledge. So if it doesn't resonate, please practice instantaneous transformation of the reverberation. Please take what resonates and leave the rest. So much love to you guys. As always, I'm just looking out. And if you are a Draco Starseed looking for more information on your origins, just remember too that you get to decide what is true and what's not for your own path, your own journey, your own energy encryption. So I will also do my best to leave links in the description for you to go through and vet out some of this information yourself as well. So if you're a Draco Starseed, this message is for you today. If you're a Draco Starseed, we will typically look at the markers at 27 degrees Gemini or Sagittarius, or if you go by 90-degree influences, which some people do. Like I said, determining your Starseed origin is really preference based off of the methodology that you use. I personally like to look at the lunar nakshatras, but Draco is not considered a lunar nakshatra. So I do look at the markers that have been known to represent this origin. And the markers that I just listed do seem to ring true through both standard astrological systems, both sidereal and tropical, from what I've gathered. I have not yet checked on the draconic astrology system yet, which I'm very, very curious about looking into the draconic astrology system, as Draco does have their own astrology system and they do have their own laws that they have gifted to humanity, so to speak. So I'm going to get more into the depth of that as I go here. But I personally have always disagreed with these marker placements, as I feel everyone on the earth is born under the influence of Alpha Draconis to some degree. The true influence I personally feel would span in relativity from Sagittarius through Capricorn and also Gemini through Cancer. Just the totality of those time markers, space-time markers, I feel would encompass the draconic constellation lineage is mythology, essentially. And this is true because Draco, the entirety of the constellation essentially wraps around the Little Dipper, which is home to Polaris, our North Pole star. So it extends almost all the way around on one half of it. Okay, so it's very, very, very influential in accordance to our North Star. And you can see, based upon the lineages that come from Draco, which is primarily reptilian, you can see this overall Draco dominion by reptilian behavior planetarily of hierarchy, right? Because there is this theme that goes along with them being the closest constellation in accordance to our North Pole star. And you can see this most prevalently in the systems of law, medicine, education, and business, and basically the entire judicial structures of the world. This is upheld by Draco. And this is another reason why we cannot, at this time, in accordance to where we're at with pole shift, cannot release the strongholds or structures that are on the collective in accordance to draconian rule. So hierarchy is a classic draconic behavior. It's implementation and it's standard basically for everything relative. Because Draco brought forth law during the Germanic and the Greek timelines and is what everyone still essentially exists under today. And I believe Aristotle does speak of this account in great detail, how global democracy was written in human blood originally. And you can trace this back to Vlad the Impaler being a forefather to the Draconic legend. So even if you start to look at Dracula and the story of Dracula, all of this is connected to Draco. Vampirism being the main exposing quality of these progenerating originals. So I'll leave a link in the description to these relative articles. But these markers in itself would probably be more accurate to say these are Thuban markers. So if you have that 27 degree Gemini, 27 degree Sagittarius, this aligns you to the Alpha star in Draco, Thuban. But not the totality of the constellations mythology, right? Draco is an extremely supreme and encompassing origin just simply based upon its astrological position. So to really understand how it interconnects with everything, you would really need to look at the totality of where it's located and what this means in accordance to the planetary grid structures. Especially when you look at it in terms of the placements and the structures of the constellation itself, you can see how Draco is a fundamental underlying establishment to all density structures strongheld in the universal stargate templates and planetary reign. As more and more of the planetary power structures become even more relevant under extreme planetary Venusian viral mutations, we begin to see the truth of this collectively, especially as humanity becomes more awakened, because it basically puts this business to a halt, especially with having those mass meditations that we just went through, the 4th and the 5th. It really exposed the mass dramas to warn humans about Anunnaki and draconian intentions. So there's been this mass awakening when it comes to casting light into the darkness, so to speak, shining light into polarity, into Polaris. And what happens when we have mass awakenings like this is it actually creates a planetary security seal that protects the Earth's portals and stargates from further fallen intentions, fallen angelic intentions and agendas. What we're seeing play out right now is a lot of these final conflict dramas. So for the month of April, because this is an April Draconian Starseed reading, we are on the verge of settling the planet free of thousands of years of these covenant ET enslavement agendas. So a lot of this is coming up, particularly as we move into pole tilt reality fields. So this has been awakening more and more and more. Arcturian beings and Arcturian density structures reality fields have been bringing forth the preparation for pole tilt reality fields. So this is kind of a big deal at this time. Those that are of a higher draconian lineage, a higher 80% draconian or reptilian or Zionist lineage or mentality or mythology, these are the ones that are responsible for actually trying to take the planet into pole tilt shift. And these are the ones that are responsible for basically all of these viruses and chemtrails and, you know, viral nanotechnology. They're considered the ones that are targeting the hybrid races for because they're considered expendable, right? We're not considered important in terms of their dominion. So we are expendable. But essentially this is what's shifting in the collective right now. This is what is being released at this time, particularly as we have the asteroid atlas coming through. So this is a representative of the Nibiruan Council. So you're going to start seeing more Pleiadian Nibiruans coming forth and stepping up and going through the release of the strongholds on these stargate sites, essentially, that are kind of stepping up and going to battle against the draconian leagues of resistance at this time. So all of this is happening. All of this is recalibrating from Stargate 11, the Lyran Stargate Council. Okay, so all of this is coming up more and more and more. But essentially, it appears to be battles over power, but these are actually battles of intellect ideals within them, ideological battles, fights over falsifying ideas, archaic battles, science of ideas. These are all in relation to war over all possible ideas, essentially. But one reason that Draco has such a strong dominion is they have basically stamped the fourth Stargate site, Giza Egypt, and have strongheld and held this position for the last 27,000 years, upholding the planetary pillar. And you can take note of this with their homage statue, the Sphinx, which is the Empire's recognition to their nursery, Cat's Eye Nebula. The Cat's Eye Nebula is the sole nursery of the Draco constellation. These nurseries are where basically soul collectives are born. And so there are only a few nurseries within the relativity of planet Earth, and the Cat's Eye Nebula being one of the most profound nursery in our Milky Way, in accordance to universal cosmic human history. So please see the link above where I go into the seeding route of Draco and why they are in this advantage. And then I'm also going to have another link above where I go into the origin of the feline race. So please check out these two videos if you haven't seen them yet, as I kind of go into the speculative theory or belief as to why these things could be true or not true. Everything is true and not true. Everything that I say can't be proved or disproved, essentially. So if you resonate with this information, then we hold that as truth. We hold that as our truth. And please know, this is not personal. This is totally based upon placement advantage and the history of the reigning North Pole stars. And it also comes in relativity in accordance to the draconian disregard following the laws that they themselves created. And how it does not apply to themselves. That is one thing about draconian law, is that they created the laws, but they do not apply to the ones that created it. And their disregard for following the laws that they created and how it does not apply to themselves, just those that they rule, which are their own kind to some degree. So this is what makes it tricky, is because I'm specifically speaking right now more of the white dragons, or what are considered the white hats, which would have the highest count of the soul genetic. They would be 80% reptilian genetic, essentially. But they are the ones that have created these laws and these rules. But they themselves do not follow these laws and these rules. They only apply to those that they rule, essentially. But essentially this nursery, the Cat's Eye Nebula, does allude to the feline primordial soul collective being one of the intruder races of their lineage, which did begin 455 million years ago at the beginning of the Lyran Wars, where they initiated and took combat under the Electric Wars and the Ripon Time. The seeding route of Draco, therefore, then monopolized on a 4-quadrant expansion of the White Lion. So you will see several collectives that have no affiliation according to Greek and Persian account to the feline, but somehow have a background connected to the White Lion. This is one of their pleomorphic accounts, where they gain dominion with metamorphism in accordance to their agenda. Draco wraps around Polaris, the North Pole star, guarding the fundamental mythology of the Milky Way galaxy, which is a polar identity. This is due to simply the structure of the Milky Way being a barred galaxy. So Polaris is simply just a representation. Polaris is the representative of the Milky Way. Okay, he is the council member that speaks on behalf of the Milky Way's consciousness. And how you can relate to this is if you look at Laniakea and you look at the local supercluster colossal systems. If you look at Hydra, so to speak, because it's one I've been talking about more recently lately. Alphard, Alpha Hydra, okay, Sigma Hydra, Beta Hydra, all of these star systems come forth as a representative of that galactic nation. Well, Polaris is the representative of our Milky Way galaxy, and therefore this is the star that ultimately is the centripetal point of consciousness, which is a very polar star. The consciousness itself of our entire galaxy is a polar nation. This is what the Draconians defend, protect, uphold, and take credit for in terms of their reign, in terms of their importance on the planet, so to speak. The Dracos have a very predatorial force. They have very predatorial mind. And this is because of the intelligence and the inheritance that they were granted from Polaris itself. And so they were the ones that were gifted the information from Polaris as an inheritance. So, and you'll notice a theme within the Draconian collective. There is a theme of a constant inheritance. Draconians have been responsible for the negative ego in humanity through mind control and programming. And so they were the ones who basically introduced, the financial debt enslavement to the planet Earth, and also banking cartels and all of this. But it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that because they created law. Dracos created law. I'm going to get into that. They've also been labeled the species responsible for spreading racism, genetic discrimination, genetic experimentation. Nazi ideology came from this group, this method, and it was all about genetic superiority. And this does have a lot to do with geographical location as well, being on the 30-degree north horizontal ley line because of the location on the planet being above. Okay, so it's not in the southern. Everything in the southern hemisphere is considered feminine. It's considered the weaker half, so to speak, when it comes to advantage, technology, information, and intelligence. So we have to kind of look at how this isn't, like I said, again, this isn't personal. The mythology is what it is in accordance to the geography and the actual locations. Another thing that makes them so powerful is the cooperative agreements. So they have these higher ranks of human government and military. All of this was built by the Draconian Empire. So it's all involved in the hierarchy of the controlling of the power elite. We look at the secondaries. We don't look at the original initiations of the Draco. We look at the secondaries, like the financial, the pharmaceutical, and the banking institutions. This all follows up after what they really founded. They really actually founded the law. They really actually founded the medicine. They actually really founded the original inception, and then the negativity of those things are the expression of it. The pharmaceutical distortions and all of these things are the expressions of what Draco are doing with it to continue with human enslavement and programming. Religious violence and terrorism. These are all the manifestations of their original seedings of what they founded here on Earth. They were given medicine from Polaris. They were given technology from Polaris. They were given the information for the secret space program from Polaris. So the attention kind of, in my personal opinion, needs to go off Draco, and we need to start looking at Polaris. What does Polaris represent, right? The thing about Draco is because they were gifted this information from Polaris, they believe that others are less fortunate. If they perceive somebody to be less fortunate in comparison to them, they feel that they are meant to be slaves. And this is where slavery came from. Slavery came from Draco because they're forever stuck in a survival mode, which means that they have no boundaries of what they will do to other beings. Now, if you are a Draconian star seed and this is your origin, do not internalize this as personal. Do not internalize this as this is your weight to carry. This is one thing that I do take note of in the Draconian starseed origin. So if you actually have this marker in your chart, there is this weight that one will take on to feel guilty or responsible for these things of the world. But this isn't your fault. This isn't your weight to carry. Although it is a part of your destiny, your mission as a galactic, as a star seed, to transmute this for the collective on a higher degree of awareness, on a higher level of awareness, because this is more directly within alignment in your energy encryption, right? So you might have more of an awareness to all of this turmoil on the planet. You feel this the most because you are holding the highest intelligence of it ultimately within your own mind and heart. So please do not take this personal if you are a Draconian starseed. Like I said, I'm simply just going through a lot of this information because I want to get this out there in terms of just the overall Draconian mythology. But like I said, hierarchy is the continued theme. Hierarchy also teaches Draconians never to trust humans. So trust is a huge thing for Draco, is they don't trust. They won't trust any humans. It's every man for themselves mentality. So, and here's how we have to look at it. We blame Draco and the practicing hybrids such as the Zionists for the evil in the world without taking account for our own heritage and our own consent for their involvement, for our involvement in the evolution of contemporary humanism. There is a lot of denial in the Draconian collective. I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious. I know many of you resonate with that, agree with that. There is a failure to see the hierarchy that we all have been victimized to believe we were conditioned to accept when we ourselves are torn because we all embody the lineage to some degree. So it's complicated, and it's honestly kind of messed up, and I know you can see that. Many who carry this origin as a direct placement can be left feeling confused because of the negative connotations and agendas to this origin. But most of you who are a Draco Starseed, and this is the real truth that I'm seeing in Draco, is that you feel you've been casted out of your inheritance. And this is the crappiest part about it, is that rat race mentality that the collective strives under, which ultimately, so you're striving to, achieve this stuff, but really ultimately the Draconian society would rather have you starve and struggle just simply for the basic materials, just to allow you to simply exist, right? This is what strives under the pursuit of these Draco genetics. See, the elite white Draconian dragons, the true elite white Draconian dragons, they keep their monarchies small, initiating only the firstborn sons and nothing else. So divine feminines, if you are a divine feminine, Draconian divine feminine, you will not be allowed the information. You will not be allowed. Only the firstborn sons. The second, third, and fourth born sons of Germany and Greece were essentially casted out of their own kind to their own dynastic rule of the planet. So that's why this collective has grown so exponentially, is because there is a whole plethora of second, third, and fourth born sons that were not allowed into this reign. And this does have to do with that Osiris curse that I talked about, with casting the firstborn sons in the Nile. That was an beetle Omicron uprising against the Draconian collective intentions. Okay, that was a cursed place to stop this power structure. So those of this origin, ultimately, the majority of 99% of the Draconians on the planet, okay, 99% of the Draconians on the planet were denied their inheritance and came under the forces of radiation-induced amnesia. And this is all under the Federation of Planets. These are the hidden adversary tangibles that are identified under superior interdimensional cloaking technologies. And this is how they try to induce genetic amnesia, is through rapid radiation mutations. Okay, so we have amnesia because of radiation. So those of you born under this lineage were essentially left to wonder why you feel called to climb an invisible ladder of wealth and structural design of hierarchy, only to still feel inadequate in a sense of direction of your destiny, right? Like, we don't even know what we're doing it for. Now, the way I see it is none of this is bad. None of this is really even evil. I mean, this is all perspective. Polarity is neutrality. All light and all darkness holds all polars. All energy encryption holds all polarity, because we are under the North Pole Polaris. So order and intelligence of the most advanced kind is truly a mission of the Draconic lineage. Okay, so we have to understand, Draco designed the law. Draco brought forth medicine. Draco brought forth education from Polaris. With the consent that you will serve their empire, they traded these things so we all would uphold and allow this dominion. There is a structural level involved in this. And to achieve this goal, they are at the core of societal organizational structures such as religion, medical, financial, legal systems. Okay? They shaped the value systems that generate reality belief systems they want to control. Through the engineering of the labyrinth itself, they enforced enslavement policies based on fear and intimidation among the Earth's inhabitants. And basically, they're piggybacking off of Earth human resources. And the people on Earth effectively enforce their own enslavement. And this is the hierarchy. This is the totality of the Draconic expression, is simply hierarchy. So if you are existing under hierarchy, you are existing under Draconian law. And this is considered the archontic deception strategies. And there's more strategy to it. It's really in depth. It's very, very, very deep. So we blame Dracos for the evil of the world, but we forget that they are the reason we have doctors, but get angry about their corruptions of the pharmaceutical cell death agendas. This is why fraternity and Baphomet worshiping is simultaneous during indoctrination of the parliament. Anyway, I could go on forever with this, but essentially, if this is your origin and you identify with it, as we all technically should to some degree, just know that this origin is highly controversial. It's one that is so controversial that people refuse to acknowledge it. Understanding your Draco heritage will better help you to see and identify with yourself in the world. Draconian starseed qualities would be feline or dragon primordial forms, highly intellectual, and I mean, in the feline, I just want to say, so if you look at the pupils of cats, okay, they are in a vertical, the pupil is a vertical pupil, okay, just like a dragon. And this is how you know that they're of the same soul collective. Dragons also have tails, right? And there's other reasons of how they're connected, but one way you can tell is you look at the pupils. Cats have a dragon pupil. So some of the starseed qualities of a Draconian starseed would be highly intellectual, constant internal ideological battles inside, desire to gain wealth and power, metamorphic according to wants, do anything to get what they want, feeling of entitlement, able to shift through varying degrees of narcissistic behavior and also empathic behavior. Okay, so highly empathic as well. They are empaths and they are narcissists. They are both. Extremely psychic, but usually unconsciously this is used. So all of these cloaking device technological skills and all of these advanced psychic abilities, they're utilizing this whether they're conscious of it or not. It's like just a built-in radar system. They may feel ostracized from their inheritance. They may feel that they came from royalty, so it's a constant feeling that they are of a royal bloodline, right? But they're trying to search for it in all these other places to justify the royalty, but it is their draconic lineage that brings forth that royalty. Functions well under hierarchy. So you've learned to cope and exist with it. You do well under the structures. You might even be highly, highly successful under hierarchy. You also might be highly sensitive to blood, whether that's feeling it in your body, remembering your grail through it, or even the extreme, more higher counts of draconic reptilian lineage in the bloodline, but this would also be the desire to possibly drink it, right? And I know this sounds weird, but it's true. Depending on how much draconic DNA you have, you are literally going back to Dracula and the Jurassic draconic, where you were a very intense predator on this planet. The dinosaurs were the original draconic living lineage on the planet. Now, most of the unconscious collective behavior on the planet exudes the epitome of the vampirism of the Draco inheritance. So most of the vampirism is not acknowledged as well, and so this is the majority of this energy. It has transformed into a different form, so now people are just simply energy vampires. This is a draconic, this is a draconian classic identification. Some positive qualities would be highly intellectual, a strong drive, strong stamina, very physical. So very physical, like to work out really, really hard. I mean, where it's like it becomes an overdrive where they overly like are about their protein, right? They have strong immunity against sickness, viruses, radiation. They are one of the people that can mutate the healthiest under extreme forms of adaptive radiation. So during this 5G warfare, this is why it doesn't affect the Draconian collective. Okay? 5G weaponization really doesn't affect them at all. Another thing might be, so this is a positive thing for their lineage, right? This for their survival. This is why they can maintain and uphold such a strong dominion for so long. They've gone through so much forms of adaptive radiation and have survived. They're also strong leaders, and they're also very foundational. So they'll have very, very strong foundations. They have very, very powerful root chakras. They have the strongest, most powerful root chakras on the planet. Most Dracos have nice big homes, powerful businesses, and their professions are primarily lawyers, doctors, businessmen, and lawmakers. Okay, guys, so like I said, I know this was a controversial message today. If you are a Draconic Starseed, you know, this is just a part of humanity. This is a part of this is the truth. This is the part of what we are. So, I mean, there's no easy way, there's no gentle way to say any of this stuff. And I apologize if it's not gentle. I want to be gentle in my delivery. I don't want to make anybody feel bad about their lineage or their inheritance or their heritage. Just know that it is what it is. So, you know, we have to be able to open up the conversation about this stuff. I personally feel I'm tired of not being able to talk about this and feeling like, you know, I have a clamp on my throat chakra when it comes to talking about Draco. Like, no, let's talk about Draco, so to speak. So, yes, I'm going to go ahead and get into this reading for the Draco Starseed. And I love you guys so much. And the best thing we can honestly do is just send love and light to these you know, parts of the collective that are controversial, to heal this. And this is what is changing. These are the final conflict dramas that are playing out. This is what all of this that we just discussed is on the verge of settling the planet free of all of this enslavement. And this is what, honestly and ultimately, if you really want to get into it, even if you are 80% draconian, reptilian, whatever, all you simply have to do is heal and clear yourself from the deepest part of you. And, you know, that's all that matters. There is a huge portion of the Draco collective that is here to do good. That's why we have medicine. That's why we have law and order, which is needed. And you know, things like rapists and murderers, and you know, the Dracos take care of that. The Dracos are the ones who, basically the death penalty. They created the death penalty, which has been released for most crimes now because we've, you know, become more of a civil nation and a civil world in terms of what, you know, is okay in terms of punishments. But they were the ones that brought forth these harsh punishments. Vlad the Impaler, oh my gosh, get into Vlad the Impaler and what he used to do to the criminals. He would take a stake, light the tip of it on fire, and shove it up people's ass. And he had like hundreds of people like in his yard, basically with dying from being impaled from these hot coals on these wooden stakes that were shoved up their ass. So, I mean, this is the harshness, the deepest harshness of this collective in terms of punishments and law and order. They were the ones that basically ruled consequences. So, of course they were hated. Do you see what I mean? So, anyways, I'm going to get into this reading. And, yeah, guys. So let's see what the cards have to say for the Draco Starseed.